My 8-year-old daughter Reese and her friend Paige were talking the other day, and the conversation went something like this. Reese was sharing with Paige something that happened at school today, and she said, Sabrina and Jada, they got in a fight, and so they decided they needed to play at recess so they could make up. And Paige looked at Reese and she said, Reese, you said 6 times in your story. And I just had to laugh because even 8-year-olds know how distracting ums and ahs are in speeches. So here at Toastmasters, we track ums and ahs so we can get rid of our distractions. But today, I'm here to share with you that I think our hand gestures are equally distracting when they are not used properly. So today, we're going to talk about our hands. We're going to talk about the amazing things our hands do. We're going to talk about some of the biggest offenders we have here in our club, and I will give you a few tips when we are done. Think about your hands. They are amazing, amazing tools just in and of themselves. They are what allow us to work all day long. We type, we text, we dig, we plan, we repair motorcycles, we cook, we clean. They are amazing things. They also can offer comfort. You give somebody a hug, you hold somebody's hand, or you pet an animal, unless it's Marley. Your hands offer greetings. Hi, Russ. Hi. They offer a greeting. You raise your hand to ask a question. You offer your hand in marriage. But your hands can also do things without saying a word. For instance, you're driving down the highway, somebody cuts you off, and you want them to know how you feel. One finger will let everybody know how you feel. But there's also okay, there's peace. If you know sign language, you can tell somebody you love them from across the room. You cheer somebody on, and you can always use the international sign for telephone. So our hands are amazing ways that we communicate. But when not done properly, they're very distracting. When they're not done properly, we also come across as not confident, we're insecure, we're tense, and we certainly don't want to come across that way when we give our speeches. So let's talk about some of our biggest offenders here at the club. I've given them names. There's 4 of them, and I've given them names. And the first one is called the clasp. The clasp. This is a favorite of many people, including myself. And we look like we're trying to squeeze our hands, they're going to pop off, or we're arm wrestling with ourselves. The clasp. Don't do it. The next one is somebody speaking and they're looking relaxed, and all of a sudden you see panic in front of their eyes, and they're like, oh crap, what do I do with my hands? So they do the quick and hide, and they shove them in their pockets. That's the quick and hide. And then there's the car dealership doll. We've all seen in front of car dealerships those blow-up dolls in their arms. Well, our version of it is we put our elbows to our waist, and we only use this area right here. We do not use our full range of motion. And the last one is the lifeline. If you use the lectern, you hold on for dear life. Please don't let me let go. So those are our 4 biggest offenders here in this club. So let's talk about maybe ways that we can help avoid doing these bad hand gestures. And I have 3 suggestions for you. The first suggestion is what to do while you're being introduced. And while you're standing there, you stand tall and relaxed and keep your hands behind you. This also works if you're in front but not speaking. And you stand here, and when you're ready to speak, then you can start speaking. The second suggestion I have is when you're actually speaking is to practice, practice, practice. I don't know about you, I've never practiced my hand gestures, but I do have a suggestion for you. When we sit down, our hand gestures are more natural. You don't see people when they're sitting down just using their elbows here, right? Or the clasp. We don't sit here and clasp like this, but they're more natural. And they're more natural because we have a place to put our hands when we're not using our gestures, either your lap or the table. So practice your speech sitting down. Pay attention to the hand gestures that you use. Now the trick is You stand up and do the same thing. That's the hard part, because when you stand up, you don't have a place to put your hands, and that's where we struggle. So practice sitting down and look in the mirror, pay attention to what your hand gestures are doing. Something I think probably most of us don't do, but you can see exactly what your hand gestures are doing. So you know how to stand when you're waiting to speak. You know how to practice, look in the mirror, make sure you're sitting down. Now the third one, this is honestly the most important one. If you take anything away from the speech, you have to pay attention to number 3. And that's find a resting position for your hands. As I said, when we sit down, that's our resting position. But what's a resting position when you stand up? Well, I have a couple suggestions for you. But I think this is where we get the panic. With a quick hide, it's like, well, I don't have a hand gesture, what do I do? So I shove them in my pocket. So here's a suggestion. I have 2 of them. One is called the natural. The natural is your hands are just naturally beside your sides, and you use your gestures as you need to. The second one I call the reporter, because if you see people on TV, they'll either lightly touch their hands or they'll rest a hand like this as they're talking. So it's nice and relaxed. So let me show you an example of both. What did the big hairy monster do when he lost his hand? He went to the secondhand store. That was the natural. Now let me show you the reporter. What did the big hairy monster do when he lost his hand? He went to the secondhand store. But you can see that they both look very natural. Whether I had it beside my waist, the side first time, I had the reporter the second time. They look very natural. So I have never, in my 4 years at Toastmasters, practiced my hand gestures. They were whatever they happened to be at the time, and I might have been doing the car dealer, who knows what I was doing, but I never practiced them. But with these tips, you can be more aware of it. It's like when you become a counter for the first time, all of a sudden you notice every and ah someone ever says in daily life. Well, I think this is going to be the same way. So remember how to stand while you're waiting, tall, relaxed, hands behind your back. Remember to be aware of your hand gestures, sit down, practice them, do the same thing standing up, and decide what your resting position is. It can either be the natural, or it can be the reporter. But I will tell you that if those aren't comfortable for you, then find one of your own. But the key is to find a resting position, something that you are comfortable with. Since I was a clasper to begin with, I clasped my hands. Now I think the reporter is going to be more natural for me because they are not that different. Look at the difference, me standing here like this and me standing here like this. It makes a huge difference, just a small move. So determine what your resting position is going to be. So I'm going to leave you with one last thing. I have an idea for our club. I think we should put a role of someone to watch hand gestures on our roster. So we have ah counter, and we have grammarian, and we have timer. Why not a hand person? And I know just the name for it, the hand dude. Probably not that, but maybe, I know, the hand jiver. That's it, the hand jiver. Hand jive. Hand jiver. Thank you.